In today's video, I will tell you about a man who lived at the mountain in the cave. He lived in the Middle Age. There was no electricity there. If you think that this is a horror story, then I would say you are wrong. It's not. But the incident he experienced, he never forget all his life. Let us begin our story. The old hermit lived at the mountain in the cave. His name was John. He spent most of his time praying to God and reading religious books. One day he heard some noise near his home. He went out of his cave to check what was happening there. He saw that there were some men who were cutting trees near his cave. "Who are you?" he asked them. "We are woodcutters," they replied. "We came here to cut some wood," John said to them. "You are doing a great job, but could you please cut a little more so that the branches don't fall on my head? You never know what might happen." They agreed and continued their work. A little later, John returned to his cave. He wanted to take a nap, but he couldn't sleep for some reason. He kept thinking about what these woodcutters had told him. All of a sudden, he heard a loud cracking sound. He went outside and saw that one of the branches fell on his cave, blocking the entrance. "Oh, God, help me," he cried out. And immediately, he regretted those words. He realized that nobody was going to save him now. The branch was too thick. Even if the woodcutters tried to move it, they wouldn't be able to do it. He spent the entire night in his cave crying. He didn't know what to do. The next morning, when the sun rose, John managed to dig a small hole in the dirt with his bare hands. He crawled through it and got out of the cave. He was very weak and exhausted, but he didn't lose hope. He started walking towards the village. He needed some help. When he got closer to the village, he saw that people were staring at him. "What are you doing here? Didn't you live in the forest?" one of the villagers asked. "I was stuck in my cave because of a tree branch," John replied. "I need your help to move it away." The villagers agreed and went with him. When they arrived, they started laughing at him. "Are you serious? This is what you wanted us to help?" one of the men asked. John felt humiliated. He was a religious man and didn't want to swear, but in this situation he couldn't control himself. "Yes, move it away or get lost," he yelled at them. The men were shocked. They had never seen such a dirty hermit before. They started moving the branch, and soon enough, John's cave was free from debris. He thanked them and returned home. That day, John decided that he needed to change something in his life. He was tired of living like an animal. The next day, he packed his things and left his cave. He sold his property and bought a house in the city. He wanted to start a new life. At first, it was difficult for him, but soon he got used to living in society. He made new friends and started going to church. He still prayed to God every day, but now he also enjoyed his life. Yes. John grew old, but he never forgot the terrible experience he had in the cave. One day, he was watching TV and saw a news report about a group of cavers who were trapped underground. "Oh God, I hope they will be okay," he said. His wife sat next to him and asked, "Why are you worried about them?" "I was once trapped in a cave myself, and I know how scary it is," John replied. "Can you believe that?" his wife asked. "Of course I can," John said. "How could you forget such a traumatic experience?" John's wife couldn't understand why her husband was so affected by this event. She thought that he was just being nosy. She changed the channel, but John continued to watch the news report. He couldn't take his eyes off the screen. The reporters were talking to the rescuers who were trying to save the caves. "It is very dangerous work," one of the men said. "But we will try our best to save them." John nodded. He understood what these people were feeling. He knew that they were brave enough to put their own lives at risk to save strangers. The days passed, but the weather was bad, so the rescuers couldn't do anything. John was getting more and more worried. He prayed every day that the cavers would be found. Finally, the day came when the rescuers managed to reach the trapped people. They brought them to the surface, one by one. All of them were safe and sound. John was so happy that he clapped his hands. His wife looked at him and asked, "Are you crazy? Why are you so excited?" "They were trapped underground just like me," John replied. "I know what it feels like. I am just happy that they are alive." After that, John's wife never questioned his feelings again. She knew that her husband was a very kind person, and he could unsee others suffering without wanting to help them. But John's past continued to haunt him. Sometimes at night, he would wake up in a cold sweat. He would feel like he was trapped in that cave again. It was so real that sometimes he would cry out loud. His wife would comfort him and tell him that it was just a nightmare. But John knew that it wasn't just a dream. It was his trauma resurfacing. He tried to talk to his friends about it, but they didn't take him seriously. "You were stuck in a cave for one night. "That is nothing to be ashamed of," one of them said. "You should be proud of yourself. You survived such a traumatic event." But John didn't feel proud. He felt scared. He was afraid that it might happen again. Couldn't understand why this event was still affecting him so much after all these years. One day, John decided to seek professional help. He went to a therapist and told him everything. The therapist listened to him patiently and then said, "It is understandable that you are still traumatized. You were trapped in a cave and you are completely alone. It is natural to feel scared after such an experience." John felt relieved. He finally understood that it was normal to feel this way. The therapist gave him some medication and told him to come back in a week. When John returned, he told the therapist that he was feeling better. "I am still a little scared, but I am trying to overcome it," he said. The therapist nodded. "It takes time to heal, but you will get there." John believed him and continued with the therapy. Every week he would go to the therapist and tell him about his progress. Slowly but surely, John began to feel like his old self again. He started going out with his wife and friends. He even began to enjoy his life. Still had nightmares, but they were less frequent. Years passed and John lived a happy life. He never forgot the incident in the cave, but it no longer scared him. He learned to live with his trauma. And that is the story that I want to tell you today. Thank you for listening. Please like this video and share with your friends. Also, check out these videos, and I will see you in the next one.